Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to The Mixer, the segment on this channel where I give you guys all sorts of detailed analyses from all walks of life. I'll talk about people, places, animals, food, sports, traveling, the whole 9 yards, hence why it's called The Mixer, because I mix things up in this huge playlist with over 200 videos at this point, and that is a mouthful of an intro, isn't it? And today I'm going to be doing another sports related video. It's going to be a little player profile and sort of like the indirect sequel to my last video talking about Walter Payton, who's one of the greatest running backs of all time in the NFL. And today we're going to be switching positions to quarterback, and we're going to be talking about one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and very obviously without a doubt the best quarterback of the entire 1980s. Nobody had ever come close to Joseph Clifford Montana Jr., who is still with us today. He's 67, unfortunately Walter passed away, but this guy is still alive, so I just wanted to put that out there. And he actually had a very, very stellar career in the NFL, playing from 1979 to 1994 with the San Francisco 49ers, his first 14 seasons, then with the Kansas City Chiefs, and there were quite a few impressive highlight reels in his career, a lot of epic moments and stats, most notably his 4 freaking Super Bowl rings that he won with the 49ers. Let me see if I can remember. It was Super Bowl 15 in 1981, it was Super Bowl 19 in 1984, and it was Super Bowl 23 in 1989, one of his best NFL seasons, by the way, and then came Super Bowl 24 in 1990, right? So I really hope I got that right. It's a lot of information. In the Super Bowl, he is, as far as I know, the only player to go 4-0 in the Super Bowl, so he started in 4-1 all 4 of them, and he also won 3 Super Bowl MVPs, right? Most Valuable Player awards. Within the Super Bowl, his total stats are 1,100 passing yards, which is freaking insane, and also 11 touchdowns, and get this, 0 interceptions. He threw not a single interception throughout his 4 Super Bowl appearances, which is insane. He also has a few records, like the most passes without interceptions, and also the highest passer rating, but we're going to get to all of that later. But Joe Montana was really, truly something special, man, because he led the 49ers to become the most unbeatable team in the NFL throughout his time there. He was very, very dominant in the 1980s, especially, and when he left the 49ers, man, I mean, it was really hard to replace this guy, No quarterback who came after him ever came close to living up to his legacy, And it's crazy, it's crazy because the 90s saw a dominance by Dan Marino, then the 2000s by Tom Brady, the 2010s, now we have Patrick Mahomes, it's insane, man. But he played in an era where football was a lot rougher, it was really, really tough to play ball back then, and he still went above and beyond for his team. And before I continue and give you guys more information, let's take a look at a clip here of Joe doing his thing back in the old days.
This year he's kicked 5 out of 7 already. The hold is from the 37. It's a play fake kick, and the pass is caught by Francis. And Francis is pushed out of bounds at the 21-yard line. And let's see, are they ruling it a catch? And if they are, it's a first down.
Now, I think Joe can actually be considered a draft steal in the NFL, because after he played college ball for Notre Dame and even won them a championship, he was drafted in 1979 by the San Francisco 49ers as the 82nd pick in the 3rd round, man. Can you believe that? I mean, I'm pretty sure that already qualifies as a draft steal, It's not Tom Brady being drafted 199th overall, but it is still pretty crazy, And in his first season, even though he played all 16 regular season games, he only threw 23 passes. However, midway through the next season in 1980, he became the starting quarterback, and his stat lines really increased, and he would lead the 49ers to a 6-10 record that season. So 6 wins and 10 losses. Not the best, but also not the worst. And he individually would throw for 1,795 yards, upon which he would use to complete 15 touchdown passes against just 9 receptions. And he completed 64.5% of his passes in that season, which was insane. The following season in 81, he was already the definitive starting quarterback, and there was a moment here, in the NFC Championship game against the Dallas Cowboys where he threw what is now called simply the catch, because it was actually one of his most clutch moments and one of the best moments in football history, and it was actually, there were 58 seconds left to go in the game, you know, and the 49ers were on their third down, you know, with 3 yards to gain on the 6-yard line of the Dallas Cowboys, you know, and then Joe threw the ball to Dwight Clark in the end zone, you know, which gave him a very, very amazing clutch moment in his resume. They won that game. They would eventually also go on to win the Super Bowl against the Bengals, you know, the Cincinnati Bengals, and that was his first ring. And then as the seasons would go on, it would just get better and better. For example, in '82, he established the then NFL record of 5 consecutive games passing for at least 300 yards. It was insane, man. 1984 was a sad moment for me because he won the Super Bowl against my team, you know, the Miami Dolphins. You know, it was really hard to stomach that one. I wasn't alive, but still, looking back on it, it was one of the opportunities that my team had to win a Super Bowl, you know. So yes, and so he would just continue to keep his level head, you know, in very, very tense situations. And as the games would go on, you know, more passing yards, more passing touchdowns, you know, a lot more crazy highlight moments, you know. And there was this very how can I say, culminative, you know, moment in his career, which was the 1989 season. This here was a turning point for him because aside from winning yet another Super Bowl, in this Super Bowl, bro, it was insane, you know, because it was against the Cincinnati Bengals again, so a chance for the Bengals to get revenge, which they failed to do. But this game was actually marked by an insane moment right at the end, yet another clutch moment by the comeback kid when he actually threw a 92-yard touchdown all the way down to the end zone, all the way up the field with 36 seconds left to go, man. That was crazy. You know, that is like a how can I say, that is like a classic NFL highlight right there, you know. It was insane. And in the 89 season, Joe actually completed 70% of his passes while throwing for 10 yards per attempt, you know. It was crazy, dude. It was really freaking crazy, you know. And he would of course capitalize on that the next season in 1990, you know, where he would go on to win yet another Super Bowl for the 49ers, and this one was against the Denver Broncos, you know. It was crazy, man, you know, breaking records upon records, getting his MVPs and passing yards, you know. He was pretty much the passing leader for almost every single season. Throughout the 1990s, nobody could even come close, you know, to Joe Cool. And I'm going to talk about a little bit of his time with the Chiefs now, but first, before that, let's take a look at a clip here of him still with the 49ers doing something.
Weiss has just set a Super Bowl record with 12 catches. He's in motion. Montana, touchdown, John Taylor.
The reason that the Comeback Kid was one of Joe's nicknames is because he had amassed a grand total of 31 fourth quarter comeback wins throughout his career, 26 of which were with the 49ers and the remainder were with the Kansas City Chiefs, which he signed with, you know, in April of 1993, and that's where he played his final couple of seasons in the NFL, you know. Now the fans and the supporters, you know, the fans, the teammates, everybody was excited, you know, because with Joe on their side, maybe they had a chance for playoff contention, you know, maybe they could even win their first Super Bowl. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, you know, because he started 93. There was a point where he played a lot of the season injured, you know, so he couldn't lead the team like he did in his early days. But he did lead them to their first division title in 22 years. So there was that. There was a wild card win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, it was really cool. And he even led them to their first ever AFC Championship game, which they unfortunately lost to the Buffalo Bills. But what are you gonna do, you know? And at least they participated. You know, there was actually in his final season in '94, there was a very anticipated matchup, you know, against John Elway, who was the quarterback for the Denver Broncos, and he was also one of the best quarterbacks of the 80s, you know. Like when you're talking about the best quarterback of the 1980s, you could definitely say Joe Montana, but you got to give John at least an honorable mention, you know. And it was very anticipated. There was a very anticipated matchup there, you know. There was also when the Kansas City Chiefs played against the 49ers again, which the Chiefs won, you know. It was crazy, man, you know. I'm very proud to say that in the postseason of '94, you know, with Joe Montana having come back to health, you know, he suffered a concussion at one point, but he was back to pretty much his full form in '94. I'm proud to say that my team, the Miami Dolphins, beat them in the postseason in the wild card berth, you know, with Dan Marino leading the quarterback. You know, it was freaking insane, man. I'm proud to say that. It was freaking awesome. He would go on to retire, but it's funny because when he got there, you know, when he got to Kansas, you know, he was actually not expecting the reception to be so warm. You know, the head coach even told him, look, man, this is a whole different atmosphere. It gets crazy. He's like, hey, come on, I played in 4 Super Bowls, man. I can handle it. But he couldn't, you know, he said that the supporters were very, very passionate. You know, even after 50 years, they were there screaming. Like the atmosphere, the ambience in the stadium was freaking insane, you know, and he said that it was an amazing moment. You know, the crowd produces this unbelievable roar, you know, especially when they're singing the national anthem, you know, the American national anthem right there at the end when they say, and the home of the Chiefs, you know, it just gives him goosebumps, you know. It was awesome. And he retired as, of course, one of the greatest players of all time at the time with quite a few different records. You know, when he retired, he actually had quite a few different records and accomplishments, but most notably, he was second of all time in playoff games with a passer rating over 100 with 12 different occasions that happened in, you know, and also the record for the most pass attempts without throwing an interception in a Super Bowl, which was 122 passes without a single pick, man. That was freaking insane, especially for the time period. And he also had the records for most wins in a Super Bowl without a loss, which was 4, although it's a record tied with Terry Bradshaw, you know. Quite a few different things, man, you know. And the thing with Joe is that he was insanely clutch. You know, he was insanely clutch, and I'm going to read his career stats for you guys here so I can leave the career accolades for the next slide, you know. So now in total throughout his NFL career, Joe Montana had 5,399 passing attempts. You know, I always get that mixed up with the freaking D's and stuff. And out of those attempts, he completed 349 of those passes, right? So 3,409 pass completions. What the hell is wrong with me today? And that gives him a passing percentage of 63.2%, you know, which is really impressive for the Joe Cool. And his touchdown interception ratio is 273 to 139. Not sure that's how you say that, you know, but that's what I'm going to be giving you here. And also, this is the crazy part, 4,551 passing yards in total, man. That is freaking bonkers for a quarterback. And that gave him a passer rating of 92.3. You know, that is crazy. I'm going to be giving you guys now his career accolades, but before that, let's take a look at Joe doing his thing, possibly with the Kaiser Chiefs now. Kaiser City Chiefs. Yeah, Mahomes.
He puts Walker in motion. He throws to the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown by Davis. What? Willie Davis. Great. Unbelievable. Effort by Willie Davis. Lord, you can take me now. I've seen it all.
Did you know that back in his early days, Joe was actually called Bird Legs by his teammates in San Francisco? It's because he had very thin legs and small calves, you know? It's like a random fun fact I wanted to share with you guys. He was also called Golden Joe at one point because he played in San Francisco, right? The Golden State, you know, like the Golden State Warriors in the NBA. So, and at one point, the coaching staff felt like Joe Montana already sounded like a nickname, so they wanted to give him kind of like a real name, like an alias to use, and they suggested David W. Gibson, which he actually liked so much that he stenciled above his locker, you know. It's like, yeah, here's David Gibson, also known as Joe Montana. They wanted Joe to be a nickname even though it was his real name. That's why he was called Joe Cool, the comeback kid, you know. But anyway, so now let's talk about his career accolades. You know, this always takes the longest, which is why I always put it at the end of all of these videos. Like I said before, he is a 4-time Super Bowl champion, you know, and out of all those 4 times, he went on to be a 3-time Super Bowl MVP, right? For some reason, he didn't win the MVP in Super Bowl 23, even though that was arguably his best performance. No, 89 was his best season in the NFL, but still, semantics, right? He was also a 2-time NFL Most Valuable Player. I don't know why he played for 16 seasons and only was twice the MVP, but still, semantics, right? And he is an 8-time Pro Bowler, right? So like that, the most amount of accolades that he has in the category is the Pro Bowl, you know, and also a 5-time NFL completion percentage leader, which is really no surprise at all because he completed, you know, had a very high completion percentage rate in his career. A 2-time NFL passing touchdowns leader, right, in 82 and 87. A lot of these were in the 80s because that was his golden era. And a 2-time NFL passer rating leader also throughout the late 80s, you know. And now he is also, I don't know how to say this, a 3-time first team. You know, he made the NFL first team 3 different times. And let me rephrase that. He is a 3-time first team All-Pro, right? I forgot to say the All-Pro there. So 3 times he made that first team, and a 2-time second team All-Pro. So twice he made the NFL second team. And now we get to some of the more individualistic ones, right? So he was the NFL Comeback Player of the Year in 1986, you know, because he led the 49ers to quite a few comeback victories in that season. The NFL Offensive Player of the Year in 89, no surprise there, he did in 89. And also he made the NFL 1980s All-Decade Team, you know, along with his buddy John Elway probably, you know. He also made the NFL 75th Anniversary All-Time Team, no surprise at all. Even less of a surprise that he also made the NFL 100th Anniversary All-Time Team, you know. And his number 16 was obviously retired in the 49ers, and he also won the Burt Bell Award, you know, which I guess was kind of like the MVP of the time period, you know, given to the most outstanding player, you know, in the NFL of the time. And also he won 2 George Halas Awards, you know, not sure what that is, you can just look it up later, and 2 AP Athlete of the Year awards, which is kind of self-explanatory, you know. And also he was named the Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year in 1990, already climbing into his final seasons, you know. It was crazy, man. Joe was clutch as freaking hell. ESPN actually named him as the 25th greatest athlete. Well, actually no, they named him the 25th greatest athlete of the 20th century, you know, in 1999. How the hell Joe Montana came in 25th, I will never know, but still, at least Sports Illustrated did him better in 2006 when they named him as the most clutch quarterback of all time. Of course, that was just 1 year away from Tom Brady's best season in 07, right? I'm not really sure how the standings are today, but still, man, Joe was breaking records even after he retired, you know, it was crazy. He had amazing vision on the field, you know, he could essentially throw the ball anywhere, you know. He really played a different level of football that we see a lot more commonly today with the quarterbacks, you know, with Mahomes and Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, you know. But he was doing this modern age football at the time in the 80s, you know, where it wasn't seen yet, man, you know. It was a much harder era to play ball, and he took a lot of hits, you know. He was sacked quite a few times, you know, here and there, especially in 89. I think there was a game where he was sacked a total of 8 times and still threw a bunch of passes and touchdowns to win it for the 49ers, you know. He had this amazing dexterity, you know, a lot of really good conditioning, and he had this passing vision that was second to none back at the time, you know. He could throw whether it was close, you know, or far. He had this crazy good accuracy, man. He would connect so many of his passes, you know. If you were a wide receiver or a halfback, you know, playing for the 49ers in the 80s, you pretty much had your career mapped out, you know. You were definitely going to break a few records and run for quite a few rushes, you know, and maybe even win a Super Bowl or 2. You know, it was really easy to play on the offense, you know, in the 49ers back in the day. And that's why Joe is considered to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And I personally consider him to be one of the best players of all time, you know. If I were to make a list of the top 10 best NFL players of all time, Joe would definitely be on it. I don't know in what position, but he would definitely be on it, you know. Maybe that's a sneak peek for a future video that I'm going to be doing, man. And I think I've pretty much covered all of it, guys, you know. Nobody came close to matching Joe's dexterity with his throws, you know. This guy was so freaking clutch, you know. It's almost like he knew where you were going to be, and he threw the ball and it magnetized to your gloves, you know. It's freaking crazy. And I think I'm gonna end it here, guys. This video is getting pretty long already, you know. I've been recording for almost half an hour, and I'm not exaggerating. I've been recording for about 26 minutes now. This is my new phone, by the way. I bought a new Samsung phone. So yeah, about 26 minutes. So I gotta get going. You know, this video is getting way too long already, but it's gonna probably be shrink a lot in post while I'm editing. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comments below what you think about this video. If you're a fan of Joe Montana, if you saw him play, if you consider him to be the most clutch quarterback of all time, let me know in the comment section. I really want to hear from you football fans, you know, and stay tuned for more content in the future regarding the NFL. And if you happen to like this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also subscribe to my channel because I release videos every single day. And while you're at it, hit the notification bell too so you can know exactly what time I upload. And it's all good, baby. It's all good. This is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the outro screen. Ow, the sack.